Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Winter Data Meetup. My name is Alex, and I will be host for this session. I hope you're finding our sessions insightful and inspiring. Meet Jesus, a data engineer expert ready to show us how to chart with your databases using LLMs. Learn how Lang Chain and natural language can make querying databases easier and more efficient. Join us for real-world examples and demo, fresh insights into the future of data integration. Before we jump our session, I'd like to take a moment to ask you for your support in growing our community and recognizing our incredible speakers. If you enjoying today's session and discussion, I want to stay updated on upcoming events and talks. So please click like and subscribe buttons below, and you will get updates on the new events. Your participation helps us to reach wider audience, allowing more people to learn from these insightful discussions. Also, in the video description below, you will find a link to the talk page where you can share your feedback, award a speaker a badge, and trade this session if you like it or maybe if you don't like it. Additionally, we'd like to hear from you during the session. So if you have any questions or insights, just share them into the chat. And we will discuss with Jesus after the session, during Q&A session. Your contribution make a discussion even richer, so don't hesitate to participate in our discussion. And now let's welcome our speaker. So Jesus, floor is yours.
Let's get started for today, but first, a few words about myself. So, yeah, basically, I'm a senior consultant in data engineering, and I enjoy, let's say, playing around with the latest trends. And actually, this talk from today, it was born like that, me tinkering a little bit around with LangChain and RAGs. And also, I like sharing with everyone what I learned, trying to make these abstract concepts a little bit more understandable. And whatever we're going to talk today, you are going to have the full code, full blog post at this link. So let's get started. What's the goal today? Basically, what we are going to do is to just take a step back and say, okay, we have LLMs, big models, where we are able to ask questions, get some replies, but then it gets a little bit more tricky when we want them to act on our data, especially data that we have on databases, right? But for sure, if you're on data engineering or data analytics task, for sure you have been taking help from LLMs to help you with the queries, right? But then the question is, could this happen all in the background? Could LLMs directly query the database? And this is the goal and what will happen in the later demo. So for that, what are we going to need is to understand what is a RAG, what is gonna be the LangChain, so one of the frameworks that we're gonna use. We're gonna get one sample database for the demo, and then I will show you the demo in a Jupyter notebook, how it works. And again, you will have everything available, everything is open source, so you can replicate it if you have maybe half an hour, 1 hour later on today. So let's get started with RAGs. RAGs is basically retrieval augmented generation. So it's a way to provide further context to LLMs, right? If you have played around with them a little bit, you will know that they have some context limit. It depends on the model. But yeah, normally you cannot paste whatever you want in a prompt. And for that limitation, we can use these tools like LangChain, LlamaIndex, and some others. These are all, again, open source. You can see how they are blooming, especially LangChain, I would say, with almost 100K stars in GitHub. And what these frameworks are doing is, let's say, picking the relevant information for the questions that you are doing, right? So they are, let's say, in the middle of the LLM and your data, and they are, let's say, providing interesting concepts for the question to that LLM, so that the reply is gonna be, let's say, accurate for the input data that you're providing. Again, this has some limitations. It's not magic, but for our case today, this is gonna be fully working in the sense that LangChain will be able to do the SQL query normally, as we would do like a human, and then plug it directly to the database with a connection with Python. So yeah, let's see a little bit more about LangChain. Yeah, if you're not familiar, why a parrot? A parrot is basically the icon of LangChain. So if you see it somewhere in the docs, or you see some RAG with a parrot, that's referring to LangChain. Llama index, of course, has its own. And yeah, you will see some of the features, especially today. Uh, yeah, it's really important, the agents. You will hear more and more about agents, but today what we are going to be using is the chain. So our workflow is going to have two chains. One, the conversational chain, where we're going to write in natural language what do we want. Yeah, like you could have that from your product team, for example. We need this kind of the data, find it out. So you would write the same, and then the second chain, it's already querying into the database for us. So let's say you get only one regular question, you get total input also written in natural language from the model. So yeah, let's get to the database then. This is totally sample database. What you will need to, let's say, to set up this locally is going to be MySQL. So you can install it totally for free. Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever you are using. You can also do it via Docker containers if you want. In the blog post, I have explanation on the setup for both. And once that's installed, you need to download a sample DB. You could also use your own, but if you want to follow, I've done it with the Chinook database. You can go to the release pages in GitHub and just download the full database with all the tables. And optionally, if you are familiar, you can get also dbeaver for free. Let's say this is an explorer of the database with some UI. So you can just simply load the table in there and, let's say, explore with queries on your own if you want to get more familiar. And then, yeah, basically we're gonna load the DB just to, as always, make sure you understand what should be the output before you blindly trust the AI, right? That's a must, I would say. Yeah, inspecting the DB, I have placed some part of the ER diagram of this DB. Basically, the sample DB is all about artists, musical artists, who bought the CDs, yeah, how many playlists they had, how many albums they recorded over their active period, and so on. And you will see that thanks to this, as the model is going to have the context of this diagram, meaning what is inside the DB database and how it is connected, it will be able to act and combine data, even if it's not, let's say, a simple reply, right? Even if it has to, let's say, take something from one table, group by, join, and so on, it's able to do it. And that's, yeah, that's the power, I would say, of having the diagram for humans, but also for the machine, right? Because there is one way to pass the full context to it. And you see, I place here the query. If you want to, let's say, get that information from SQL, how does it look, the schema of this DB? You can do it like so. Yeah, and of course, you also have the full diagram as a Mermaid.js diagram here. It's also on the post, so you can zoom in, zoom out. It was just to too big to plug it here and be visible. Just be aware that there are more tables. And then, so we have on one side the database, everything, let's say, is structured, tables are ordered, connected in a certain way. That's perfect for integrity and consistency, of course. And on the other side, we have the LLMs, right? So they are not trained on our data, uh, yet they are really good to get information from them, right? You don't need SQL or Python. You can just write and they reply back to you, right? The problem comes with the context, right? And that's really important for, yeah, whatever chatbot you want to create. You could plug this database information, or if you need some virtual assistant to act on certain information, you should definitely bridge this gap, right, between the two. And that's the magic of LangChain, I would say, or yeah, any other RAG that you would find. And that's really interesting. I would say if you are on this field, there are many opportunities to create such chatbots. Actually, yeah, for sure. Yeah, at least in my experience, I've had some cases where I was asking some bank for information and they have some chatbot, but even that chatbot is not fully trained or not fully having the full context of that bank information, for example. And that's really interesting, right? I think we might think this is already developed, but even in big places, this is yet to be done, right? So I think this is a really interesting piece of technology to master, or at least to be familiar with. And for now, I think I will jump to the demo time. Enough words. Let's see it in action. So let me just jump back to the Python notebook. Again, this is a repository that is linked to this talk. Everything is public on GitHub. Even you have the link to the talk. So yeah, it's just data chat. You have it on the PPT as well. So what do you need? I have VS Code installed with Python. You see it's Python version 3.12. I think from 3.10 this should work. But then also important, you will need OpenAI key. You can get it also from the link. It's in the blog post. And I recommend so much to have a Python environment, right? And these are the commands you need to, let's say, install all the dependencies that we need and not to have any conflict. If you have ever, let's say, use Python for any other thing. How to know that you are on a virtual environment is that you will see this kind of thing, right? So this virtual environment is data chat VM. We are on it, and also Jupyter Notebook is active on that one, right? So if we execute this one, we see Python is loaded. And very important, this is working for me with current LangChain version 0.3.18, right? Be aware of this whenever you are writing requirements to point to the number version, because it might be that this is evolving so much. Maybe in future versions of the library, they will change the way how the things are called, right? So yeah, remember with this one, this should be totally working for you. So let's just load our OpenAI key. I also recommend you to have it on a .env file so that, well, the code is clean and you're not leaking secret to GitHub in this case. And yeah, it's much more cleaner. So yeah, you could print it when you are not presenting to many people like me. But yeah, let's say that right here in this variable is my OpenAI key that is giving me access to ChatGPT interface, right? And now what we can do as a first step, okay, how can we see how to play with these LangChain chains, right? And you can build some sample templates where you are gonna instruct a little bit the model what to expect, right? So based on the table schema, meaning you are giving all the context of all the tables and how they are related, write a SQL query that would answer a certain question, right? Also written in human language, right? So let's get this one loaded, and you would see, yeah, this is how we format the prompt, right? So how many users are there, for example, would be, let's say, in spaces, right? This is all the tweak this is doing to, let's say, this is some preparation for the LangChain to work properly. Then let's see if the database connection works with Python, right? So whatever you need is to set up MySQL, as I mentioned, locally. Set up your password, user password, and normally this will be running in the port 3306 by default, unless you change it. And the database name, at least I name in Chinook, just keeping the regular name. Yeah, you can see it's right here. From this is just the direct download from the GitHub, right? So once loaded, this is the full connection that we need. And if I just do db run show tables, this is just querying the DB via Python, right? No LLMs involved here. So it's telling us, as mentioned, albums, artists, customers, yeah, all regarding music and some music artists. Also regarding payments, yeah, you can play around with it. There are several tables to have a look and tinker. And yeah, for example, if I just query in human language albums, I would get, yeah, I think this one is AC/DC. Uh, yeah, Let There Be Rock. I think it was also some rock band. So yeah, these are regular queries. We are connected to it. But yeah, let's say that now we want to build some more interesting query, but using AI. So we're going to define this function to get the schema, to get that table information when we ask it to. And then this would be one of the chains, sorry, from LangChain. And this is the one for SQL, right? So this is going to be, uh, let's say, giving us the SQL reply, but inside the guts, right? This is going to be intermediate change that in the final output, we are not really going to interact with, but we can see how this works, this intermediate step. So basically, whenever we ask the question, it's going to give us the SQL query, right? This would be the step where we go to ChatGPT website and ask, tell me this, how would it be? But in that case, it doesn't have the context of the schema yet. In here, we already have it, right? And the next step is to just tell not only to write the query, but run it, right? It would be this function. So if we do like this separately, this is telling us the result, right? This is fully into the database. So now how about we combine both, right? We have one chain that can run the queries, whatever it is, and another one that is creating the queries from the question, right? So the full change is going to have this one as input. So we just ask and we just receive the information that we need, right? And it would be this one. You just define it like so. We create a template having the question from the user, SQL query, and SQL response, because we are not interested to just have a number or whatever. We want a context of that reply, right? So by knowing this, the LLM is going to reply a full sentence, not just the whatever result it was. So if we execute this one and we run full change and we invoke it, yeah, you see is not telling us 275 artists, but is, let's say, giving us some more context to it in the database. If I do something more, yeah, this is to check, yeah, that there is a match. You could also check it in dbeaver, for example, and something more complex that I have prepared for you here. What would be top 5 artists with more album published? So that would involve already 2 tables, and I'm gonna show you now how it looks. So yeah, you see how it replies with total content with a full natural language process. That would be how you would reply back to your product manager, or how you would like to reply to your clients. For example, if you are building some chatbot for, let's say, an application, banking, real estate, whatever, this is what people would expect, right? Not a table, but full sentence. Yeah, and to make sure this is fine, you can see which query the agent is building, just looking at the first of the chain. And then if you go with this to, yeah, if you don't want to query it via Python, which you could, you can always go to the Beaver. Yeah, this is only the UI for the database, which I have loaded here. Also, you have the snapshots on how to load it on the post. But yeah, this is totally the same to see how many users and how many, yeah, top 5 artists by album count, right? So you see here, Iron Maiden apparently had 21 in the database. I was not aware that they had so many, but yeah, for sure. Yeah, Led Zeppelin, they were around for quite some time. So yeah, so there you go. And also inside the Beaver, you can see the, let's say, ER diagram of the database with a beautiful UI. In this case, we are using for the query artist table and album, right? So top 5 according to how many albums they have ever published. So yeah, that's the demo part for now. Let me go back to the presentation. Yeah. Um, this is from first one. Sorry, 1 second. So yeah. So summing up, yeah, I have shown you how to, using natural language, you can not only create SQL queries but have the full reply from the model in human readable language, where you can already plug some chatbots or whatever other applications you need on top. You have all the working code with Colab notebook and everything ready in the GitHub repository. If you need Docker Compose for MySQL setup, it's also ready in there. And remember to, yeah, use environment variables whenever you are, let's say, playing with APIs, not to, let's say, leak your secret to the internet. And yeah, if you need some other visualization tools, you have SQL Lead, Viz, SQL Lead browser, or yeah, just dbeaver. They work just fine if you want to explore the database a little bit before getting into the AI part. So yeah, for now we can go to the Q&A, if any.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ines, for interesting topic. Yeah, really going to try that. We have several questions in the chat. Yeah, first, what systems can you suggest? Okay, LLM significantly improve user interaction, but from security standpoint, if there is right access, there absolutely has to be an operator filtering out malicious requests. What
Yes.
systems can you suggest? Maybe there is a known solution to apply this human intervention rules. Yeah.
Yeah. So very important thing here, you could also tweak the prompt more, right? To avoid in the template that we have, we can always place more, only do select operations, nothing like, mess up with the database, but also The good thing here is that in the connection with the DB, you can put another user, right? And that user is going to have only read permission to the DB. So even if the model would get crazy and let's say do some write operation, it couldn't do it as per its access, right? So that's the two ways: the model way, which is always good, but also the hard way, which is the user that the model is using wouldn't have write permissions or whatever higher permissions that you don't want to mess up. And the good thing also is that to the LLM you are sending schema information, but not the pure data itself, right? The pure data remains in your local computer and just the query gets executed against it. So yeah, from the security, I think that's also a really good point.
And what about adding some agent, maybe that
Agent
will
mhm,
on,
on top
for
of it.
example, to analyze these queries generated by the model. Maybe they can be analyzed and at least checked if the query was generated properly.
Yeah, that's also we could have any other step in the change, right? For now there are only two, but it could be let's say a before querying, we could have another agent telling, okay, this makes sense. For example, we could have the non-malicious check, for example. Yeah, that's another
Yes.
possibility, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we have one more question. How do you add context to the tables? Yeah, not sure.
I'm not sure if I get this one, but what I understand is how are we passing to the models the tables we have, right? And I was showing you this part. Let me find it. So this part, this query that is giving to the model how many tables we have, what's the fields inside it, and how they are related, that's passed to every query we do. The model knows this, knows your question, and yeah, basically form the query from it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next question: Llama index versus Lang chain.
Yeah, so that's a good one. In the repository, you can see this is inside the LangChain part. I have also been playing with Llama index, and yeah, for what I've seen, they are now going a lot to the agent side of the things. And yeah, personal opinion, some things are easier for me with Llama index, others are with LangChain. But yeah, in total popularity, you can see who wins here. But yeah, it's not that one framework with will do it all, right? They have, let's say, some common grounds and some parts that only one can do, and so on. So yeah, I would say it depends what you want to build. You need to explore a little bit more and choose the one more, yeah, easier to use for your use case. Yeah.
Um, Well, I have a question.
Mhm.
Does this queries generator something like so it generates a query, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's better to keep in mind not only table schema, not only table structure, but also table size. So, for example, if you I don't know maybe join some huge table with
Mhm.
some reference table, yeah, maybe join order or some other approaches are different than joining two small tables. So is it taken into account in the
The size with this template that I showed you is not taking into account the size of the table, but we could tweak the template and add, take into consideration that these are the row counts, for example.
hmm
So we could give that information to the model. You put, let's say, the regular query to get the row counts and feed it, right? You have these brackets and you can feed, yeah, I would say that's manageable amount of information. It's not too many tokens because it's summarized, right? Let's say you have here 15 tables, so feeding, yeah, 15 more rows with some row count, that would be totally fine. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
uh, Did you try any Hugging Face models for that task? And did you evaluate somehow how good this chatbot?
Not yet. I have used it only for now with OpenAI chatbots, as it was working, yeah, pretty good for me. But yeah, if it works with OpenAI, it means that any OpenAI compatible API should work. So yeah, I'm thinking about even Grok API should be able to work here. And there is some projects around there. I think I mentioned it at the post that is doing from one API, it does API compatible. So yeah, with that one, basically you can plug any other model that you come across. Even Claude Anthropic models, they should be able to be plugged in this one. Yeah.
We also have some more questions, but they relate to security that has been already covered. Yeah, security issues, for example, like uh, how not allow this chatbot to drop table.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, in that one, just a reminder, one very important thing in the SQL user that you are giving access to the model, just give only read access. And that would be the safest. But yeah, remember also to play with the prompts, not to do uh, yeah, strange queries. Yes,
Mhm.
that's for sure.
Okay, looks like we're out of questions. Okay, thank you very much just for interesting topic. Yeah, really recommend to try it. Yeah, since
Yes.
yeah, I see also. Yeah, you have shared interesting information. Yeah, please, everyone who is interested, yeah, follow these links and learn more about cover topic.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much all for joining today's discussion. In the description below, you'll find a link to the event page where you can find presentation file and the recording, and also find all these links that were covered during the discussion. And on that page, you can also award just a badge and trade this stock if you like it, or maybe if you don't like it, or if you think in a different way. Uh, don't forget to subscribe to our channels, YouTube channel, and to our community page to get more content like this. And we hope to see you on our next sessions during Winter Data Meetup. Thank you. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.